The world lies in ruins, once filled with laughter, light, and life, now reduced to ashes and silence. The winds carry the smell of smoke, and the ground still remembers the blood of fallen warriors. Among the shattered stones and burning skies, two fragile figures remain, a mother and her child. Her face is hardened by struggle, painted with scars of battles she never asked for. Yet in her eyes burns an unyielding fire, the promise to protect, no matter the cost. She holds not a weapon of steel, but the strength of love, fiercer than any blade. Beside her, the child watches the flames dance in the night, small, innocent, yet carrying in those eyes the weight of a destiny unknown. The world may crumble, kingdoms may fall, but this bond of mother and child becomes the last light in a world drowning in darkness. This is not just a tale of survival. It is a story of sacrifice, of love against despair, and of hope rising from the ashes of war. And in this firelit night, destiny begins its silent march. The world was not always like this. Once, it sang with the music of birds, the laughter of children, and the gentle whispers of rivers flowing under the sun. Villages thrived with harvests. Kings ruled mighty lands, and the skies were painted with colors of dawn and dusk. But all of that is gone now. What remains is silence, the heavy silence of ruins. The land is scarred. Charred earth stretches endlessly, blackened as if the very soil has been burned alive. Trees stand like skeletal remains, their branches twisted, their leaves long turned to ash. The air is thick, poisoned with the stench of smoke and decay. Wherever one looks, there are remnants of battles, broken swords buried in mud, shattered shields lying forgotten, and bones half swallowed by the earth. The world itself feels as if it has given up, as if life has surrendered to death. The sky no longer holds the warmth of the sun. Instead, it hangs heavy with clouds of soot, turning daylight into a dull gray twilight. The wind howls through the ruins, carrying the cries of the fallen, or perhaps only the imagination of those who survived. The once mighty cities are reduced to stone skeletons, walls crumbling, towers collapsed. Every corner whispers stories of destruction. Families torn apart, homes burned, futures stolen. In these ruins, survival is not living. It is enduring. It is clinging to a thin thread of existence when everything else has been stripped away. Food is scarce, water is tainted, and every stranger could be a threat. The world is no longer a home. It is a battlefield that never ends. Among the ruins lie remnants of forgotten lives. A child's toy, half buried in the dust, a necklace broken and rusted, glinting faintly under the ash-filled sky. A book, its pages burned at the edges, words forever lost to fire. These small fragments tell the story of a world that once dreamed, loved, and built, but now remembers nothing except war. And yet, amidst the silence, the scars of fires still glow. Fires smolder in the distance, lighting up the horizon with faint orange embers. They are not flames of warmth, but of destruction, consuming whatever little life remains. Animals have fled. Those that survive scavenge desperately, just like humans. The balance of nature is broken. What once flourished together has now been scattered apart. The people, what few remain, are shadows of who they once were. Their eyes carry no spark, only the weight of endless struggle. They wander through the wastelands like ghosts, always looking over their shoulders, always searching for food, always fearing the next attack. Trust is rare, companionship is dangerous, and love feels almost impossible. But even in ruins, whispers of old songs sometimes echo. Survivors remember festivals under lantern light, laughter shared over feasts, and the smell of spring rain after a long winter. These memories sting like wounds that will never heal, because every memory is also a reminder of what has been lost forever. The world in ruins is more than just a place. It is a wound on the heart of humanity, a wound carved by greed, sharpened by war, and widened by betrayal. Kingdoms fought for power, empires clashed for dominance, and in the fire of ambition, the world itself was burned. Now, those who once dreamed of ruling kingdoms rule nothing but ashes. Still, silence is not emptiness. Silence holds the breath of something waiting, something that might rise from the rubble. The ruins are not just endings. They are also beginnings, though fragile and uncertain. Beneath the ashes, life struggles to return. A blade of grass pushes through cracked stone. A bird dares to sing a broken song. And in the darkest corners, children still cry. Not just from fear, but because they are alive. This is the world into which our story begins. A broken land, a burned sky, a silence heavy with despair. Yet within this silence, there is also a heartbeat, faint but unyielding. For even in ruins, life refuses to die completely. And sometimes, the smallest flame of hope burns brighter than 1,000 torches. It is here, in this world of shadows and ash, that two fragile souls continue to walk. A mother, carrying the weight of grief and survival. A child, carrying the promise of tomorrow. Together, they move through this wasteland of memories and scars. For though the world itself has fallen, their journey is only beginning. Because even in the ruins of war, the story is not over. The world may lie in ruins, but the greatest weight does not rest on the broken earth. It rests on her shoulders. The mother carries it every waking moment, every breath, every step across the wasteland. It is not just the burden of survival, but the burden of love, responsibility, and fear. Her body bears the scars of the journey. Hands once soft are now hardened, blistered from endless work, gathering scraps of wood, pulling broken metal, carrying whatever little food she can find. Her face, painted with streaks of dirt and ash, holds lines far older than her years, carved by sleepless nights and silent tears. Yet despite her exhaustion, she moves forward, because to stop would mean to surrender, and surrender is a luxury she cannot afford. The child at her side is both her strength and her weakness. Every glance at those innocent eyes fills her with courage, yet every sound of hunger, every cry in the night, shatters her heart. She has no shield, no army, no fortress, only her arms to protect that small life. And though the world outside may roar with chaos, her arms have become a sanctuary, the last unbroken wall between the child and the darkness. But the burden is not just physical. It is the weight of choices no mother should ever face. When food runs short, does she eat or let the child eat? When danger approaches, does she fight or does she hide, praying the shadows pass them by? Every moment is a decision between sacrifice and survival. And in her heart she knows she would burn the world itself if it meant her child lived one more day. At night, when the flames of the campfire flicker and the world outside falls silent, she allows herself to remember. She remembers laughter before the war, the warmth of family, the safety of home. She remembers a time when her biggest worry was simple: a child's fever, a broken toy, a spilled bowl of food. Those memories are daggers now, because they remind her of what was lost. But they are also the only thing that keeps her soul alive, a reminder that life can be more than just survival. Fear is her constant companion, not fear for herself. Her own life no longer matters, but fear for the small heartbeat that follows her footsteps. When the wind howls through the ruins, she fears the approach of raiders. When the night grows too quiet, she fears what lurks unseen. Even the fire that warms them could betray them, for its smoke might guide danger straight to their fragile camp. And yet she cannot smother the fire, for without it, the cold would swallow the child whole. Every choice, every action, is a knife edge, where one wrong step could mean the end. Still, within this endless storm, she has become something more than herself. Her love has transformed her into a warrior without a sword, a guardian without armor. Her strength is not measured in weapons or victories, but in the simple, relentless act of enduring. For while kingdoms may have fallen and armies may have shattered, she remains standing, not for herself, but for the child who holds her heart. Sometimes she wonders if the child will ever understand. Will they remember her as a weary figure, carrying bowls of meager food and whispering stories to chase away nightmares? Or will they remember her as the one who gave everything so that they could have a chance at tomorrow? The question does not matter. What matters is that tomorrow must come. And so she pushes forward, through storms, through hunger, through nights when the stars themselves seem to have vanished. She continues. Her voice may tremble, her hands may shake, but her resolve never falters. Because this is the burden of a mother, to carry not only her own survival, but the entire weight of her child's future. In the ruins of a broken world, she is more than a survivor. She is a beacon. She is the flame that refuses to be extinguished. She may never see the world rebuilt, never hear the songs of peace again, but she knows that if her child lives, then hope itself has not been defeated. The world calls her weak, fragile, expendable, but in truth, she is stronger than any king who ever sat on a throne. For while power may rule lands and armies may claim victory, nothing in the world is as unyielding as a mother's love. And so she carries her burden, through pain, through despair, through fire and ashes. Her body may bend beneath its weight, her spirit may strain, but it will never break, because within her arms lies not just a child, but the last spark of tomorrow, and that spark must never die. This is her burden, her curse, her gift, and she will carry it until her last breath. In a world where everything seems broken, there still walks one soul untouched by its cruelty, the child, small, fragile, and unknowing, yet carrying in their innocence a power greater than armies, greater than kings. The child does not see ruins as the mother does. Where the mother sees burned walls and collapsed towers, the child sees shapes, castles of imagination, fortresses of wonder. Stones scattered on the ground become toys, sticks become swords, and the gray sky becomes a canvas where dreams still paint themselves in hidden colors. To the child, even in darkness, there is light. Even in silence, there is music. Their laughter, though rare, cuts through the heaviness of the world like a spark of fire in the cold night. When they giggle at the way shadows dance in the firelight, or smile at a bird brave enough to fly across the gray skies, the mother feels her heart break and heal at the same time. For how can there be such purity in a place consumed by ashes? How can such innocence survive when the world itself has died? The child does not yet understand hunger as suffering. Hunger is simply a question, a curious request for food, often met with a small piece of bread or a sip of water. They do not realize that the mother has gone without eating night after night to give them that single bite. To the child, the world is still safe because the mother is there, and in their heart, the mother is unshakable, eternal, a shield that will never fall. At night, when the campfire flickers, the child leans into the mother's arms, eyes wide with wonder. They listen to the stories she tells, not tales of kings or battles, but fragments of a forgotten peace. The child hears about fields of flowers, rivers that sang like lullabies, stars that sparkled brighter than fire. They believe every word, because to them, the mother's voice is truth itself. And in those stories, hope takes root. The child's innocence is not blindness. It is a quiet strength, a refusal to let despair conquer their spirit. They may cry, they may stumble, they may ask endless questions, but in their gaze there is always light. And that light becomes the mother's anchor, the reason she continues to carry her impossible burden. For when the world threatens to crush her, one glance at those small, trusting eyes reminds her that giving up is not an option. There is something almost divine in the way the child sees beauty in brokenness. A cracked jar becomes a treasure. A dying flower, found among the ruins, becomes a gift proudly offered to the mother. Even ashes hold mystery for their curious hands, as though every fragment of this shattered world still carries magic. Where others see only endings, the child sees beginnings. And yet, innocence is fragile. The mother knows this. She knows that each passing day threatens to strip the child of their purity, to replace laughter with fear, dreams with despair. She fights not only to protect the child's body, but to guard their spirit, to delay the moment when they will see the world as it truly is. She tells stories to soften the truth, sings lullabies to silence the echoes of war, and smiles even when her heart is breaking, because she knows the child watches her face for answers. The child's destiny is unknown, but in their small steps lies the possibility of renewal. They may never understand how much rests upon their shoulders, how their very existence is a rebellion against the ruins. But their innocence is not weakness. It is the seed of tomorrow. For in a land where everything else has been poisoned, only a child's untainted heart can still imagine a better world. Sometimes, when the mother is too weary to move, the child takes her hand, tugging gently, urging her forward. Their voice, soft yet insistent, whispers the unspoken truth. We cannot stop here. We must go on. In those moments, it is not the mother carrying the child, but the child carrying the mother, lifting her spirit with nothing but a smile, a laugh, a promise unspoken. The innocence of the child is more than a comfort. It is a weapon. Against despair, against hopelessness, against the crushing weight of a ruined world, it stands unyielding. The child does not fight with swords, but with wonder. They do not command armies, but they lead the heart of their mother. And in this war of survival, that is enough. For as long as the child can laugh, as long as they can dream, as long as they can believe that life is more than ruins, then the world is not completely lost. The innocence of the child is the last unbroken thing in a broken land. And so, even as the world lies in ashes, the child walks with wide eyes and open heart, a living reminder that hope is not dead. It simply wears the face of innocence. Fire, it is both friend and enemy, warmth and destruction, life and death. In the world that lies in ruins, nothing embodies this contradiction more clearly than the flickering flame that dances in the night. For the mother and child, fire is survival. In the cold nights where the wind slices like knives, the fire becomes a shield, wrapping them in fragile warmth. Its glow pushes back the darkness, holding away the shadows that whisper of fear. In a world where everything else has been taken, that small circle of light feels like a kingdom, a sanctuary carved out of ashes. But fire is never gentle for long. Its crackling voice reminds them of the past, the cities that burned, the homes that fell, the armies that reduced the world to smoke. Fire built the ruins they now wander. It devoured fields once filled with grain, forests that once sang with life, villages once alive with joy. The same flame that now keeps them alive once destroyed everything they loved. And so, every spark is a memory of loss. The mother understands this duality. She tends the fire carefully, feeding it with scraps of wood, guarding it against the wind. Too little flame, and the cold will creep into their bones. Too much flame, and the smoke will reveal their hiding place, calling raiders or wild beasts from the night. The fire must be balanced, controlled, not too weak, not too strong, just enough to survive. It is the same balance she holds within her heart, between despair and hope, between giving up and moving forward. To the child, fire is magic. Their wide eyes follow the sparks as they rise into the night sky, chasing stars no one can see anymore. The flames are not destruction to them, but a dance, flickering shapes that tell stories in their glow. Sometimes the child giggles at the way the fire twists and bends, as though the flames themselves are alive, playing just for them. Where the mother sees danger, the child sees wonder. And that, too, is fire's power. It is never the same thing to two people. Around the fire, their bond grows stronger. The mother's stories are told in its light, her whispers weaving memories of a world the child has never known. The fire becomes a teacher, a companion, a silent witness to their journey. Each night, as the flames burn, it feels as if the fire itself listens, guarding their secrets, carrying their words into the sky. Yet there is always fear. Fear that the fire will die in the middle of the night, leaving them to the cold. Fear that its smoke will rise too high, betraying them to unseen eyes. Fear that one spark might catch on something dry, turning safety into disaster. Fire is never just a comfort. It is a test, a reminder that nothing in this world comes without risk. Still, the fire is a symbol of something greater. It is survival, yes, but it is also hope. For as long as the flames burn, life has not yet surrendered. As long as the fire lives, so too does the promise of tomorrow. The mother sees it each time she watches the fire's glow reflected in her child's eyes. In those eyes, the flame is not merely wood and spark. It is the heart of the world, still beating. The fire is also memory. It carries the scent of burning wood, the crackle that echoes the sounds of war, the glow that recalls nights of safety long gone. It is a bridge between what was lost and what remains. And though it reminds them of destruction, it also reminds them that even from ashes, warmth can rise again. Some nights, when silence falls heavy and the stars hide behind the smoke-filled sky, the mother stares into the fire as though it holds answers. In its shifting shapes, she sees faces of the past, loved ones gone, dreams buried, moments forever lost. The fire speaks in silence, reminding her that everything burns in time, and yet, even as it consumes, it also creates light. In destruction, there is also renewal. The child, too, learns from the fire in ways they do not yet understand. They see in its dance the lesson that life is fragile, fleeting, but also beautiful. They reach out, curious, and the mother pulls them back, warning them of its danger. In that moment, the child learns another truth, that even beauty can wound, that even warmth can harm if touched without caution. Fire becomes their first teacher of the world's contradictions, and so fire remains at the center of their journey, not just a tool, but a symbol. It is the fragile line between safety and danger, despair and hope, death and life. It is the reminder that in the darkest night, even the smallest spark can hold back the void. In the end, perhaps the fire is not just survival. Perhaps it is destiny. For as long as the mother keeps the flame alive, she keeps the promise alive that her child will see another dawn. And as long as the child gazes into its glow with wonder, the world is reminded that innocence still has the power to find light in the ashes. The fire will one day die. All fires do. But until that moment comes, its glow will remain their guide. The heartbeat of survival, the soul of memory, the whisper of hope in a world consumed by ruins. Every story of survival must face the same question. Why endure? What is the purpose of walking through endless ruins, of carrying pain and hunger day after day? For the mother, the answer is simple, though the path is not. She endures for the child, And in that child lies something greater than either of them can yet understand: destiny. The ashes of war cling to everything. They darken the skies. They poison the rivers. They bury the past beneath a gray shroud of sorrow. To most, ashes are endings. They are what remains after fire devours life, what settles when all has been consumed. But to the mother, ashes are not only death. They are the soil in which new beginnings can grow. For though the world has fallen, something within the child remains untouched, unbroken. That fragile spark, that unyielding innocence, is the seed of tomorrow. The journey is not just about survival anymore. Each step carries a greater weight. Every mile walked, every battle fought against hunger or fear, every night spent guarding the fire. These are not just struggles, but offerings, sacrifices laid upon the altar of the future. The mother knows she may not live to see the world rebuilt. She may not hear laughter in the streets again or watch fields bloom with harvests. But if the child lives, then all is not lost. Destiny does not shout. It whispers. It hides in small acts. The way the child still smiles at broken things. The way their laughter rings even in silence. The way they pick up fallen flowers and call them treasures. In those moments, the mother feels a certainty deeper than fear. Her child is meant for more. Not for thrones or crowns, perhaps, but for life itself. For carrying forward the dream of a world that can rise from the ruins. Hope is dangerous. It demands faith where faith has no ground. And yet, without it, there is nothing but despair. The mother clings to hope not as a dream, but as a weapon. Each night she whispers to the child, telling them stories not of war, but of peace, of green meadows, of skies lit with stars, of rivers singing with life. She knows the child believes every word. She knows those words are planting roots in the soil of their heart, and she knows that one day those roots will grow into strength. The ruins will not last forever. Time will erode them, as it erodes everything. But destiny, born from love and carried through struggle, can outlive even the darkest night. The ashes may cover the world, but within them burns a hidden flame, the will to begin again. And that flame is carried not by kings or warriors, but by a mother and her child, walking hand in hand through a wasteland. The burden is heavy, but destiny does not choose lightly. Perhaps it is fitting that in the aftermath of destruction, it is not armies who decide the future, but love. A simple bond of blood, stronger than steel, more enduring than stone. For kingdoms may rise and fall, but the promise of tomorrow rests in something far greater. The determination of a mother, the innocence of a child, and the fire of hope that refuses to die. As dawn breaks, gray, dim, but still dawn, the mother looks to the horizon. The sky is scarred, but somewhere beyond the smoke, light returns. She knows the journey is far from over. More hunger, more danger, more despair awaits them. Yet she also knows this. They are not walking toward an ending, but toward a beginning. The ashes whisper with every step. They remind her of loss, but also of what can rise again. And in that whisper, she hears destiny, not the destiny of power or glory, but of survival, of renewal, of love reborn from ruin. The child will grow. The child will carry forward not just blood, but the memory of everything endured. And through them, the world will find its way back to life. This is destiny beyond the ashes. Not a promise written in stone, but a story carried in hearts. It is fragile, uncertain, and yet unbreakable. For as long as the child breathes, as long as their laughter dares to echo in a broken land, the future remains possible. The mother tightens her grip on the child's hand. Together, they step forward. The ruins stretch behind them. The unknown stretches ahead. But between them burns a fire of love, of hope, of destiny. that no ashes can ever smother. And so the story does not end in despair. It does not end in silence. It ends in footsteps, small, fragile, yet unyielding, walking beyond the ashes, carrying tomorrow.